Yaurana. Ratea takutua, ratea takuaro, ratea I te uhitaramea. Ka popoa, ka pate tua, ka pate aru. Po he mo I te aratona nae. Riakina te ahua huroa. Cette déclamation que je vous venez d'entendre.
Now this words I have just pronounced is an appraisal of my native island. That's a very small island that you could see here, Waiatian, of 70 square kilometers, which is located at 1,200 kilometers at the southwestern part of Tahiti in the French Polynesian area. This is my personal tribute to the ancestors and to the generation of ancestors with the affiliation I come from, the legacy I have inherited. It is also a very personal tribute that I want to pay to the ancestors who have been called ite and who have transmitting knowledge. That means ite means to see, to be a testimony to, and also to know. And therefore, I would like you to come with me on my traditional boat so as to go and see the island, not among the different currents and winds, but also see what the words and the stories are, and stop for a moment on this small island of Moorea, where everything starts, where we start our adventure, when we have scientists establishing a dialogue with younger people and with ancestors and with seniors. Now, what about our ancestors? I would also like to introduce them to you, and I hope that they will forgive me because the list is very long and I will only be introducing 3 of those. Papamate. Papamate Tehoyata. Well, he doesn't, he's a fisherman, he's a farmer, but for us, it is an expert of marine environment and the Polynesian moon calendar is something that he invented. And Papaumatru, who's known in the South Pacific area, and my great aunt, Mamatika, the one who taught me all these words I have just pronounced. But I'll come back on these introductory words. Now, these ancestors who have been transmitting the knowledge and the know-how have been defending these traditions which have been our own tradition, the ones we have transmitted throughout our generations and our family generations. This transmission of power, of knowledge, and of experiences is something that we have to inherit from, but we also have to find a consensus. And this transmission means that we need a lot of time. We have to sit with these people, these ancestors. We have to spend a lot of time, and today we don't have enough time for that anymore. And this oral transmission of knowledge is very important because our society is built on oral traditions. And as you know, the oral tradition societies are very vulnerable. And the language for transmission is our native language, or the native language of the different communities. So, thanks to all the knowledge we have inherited from our ancestors, this is what we have. And one of the first things we say to children in our island is, speak your native language. Know what the history of your island and your country is all about. Feel proud about it. And most of all, come back to where you belong. Live in the house which is yours. Now, what are we going to do with these young people? How are we going to help these children, these young people, if the transmission of knowledge is so rigid and so demanding? how can we do this? How can we find how can we bridge transmission and what we expect from young people? Atitya, this is something that we have created. It's the name of our land. And here we have a lab which is called Gump Station, which is now working with the Berkeley University. It's a wonderful potential for research. And we thought that this was a very exciting opportunity. We have a lab, a research center, which has been built in our island, and we work with a partnership with the Berkeley University. This means that we can go beyond the normal borders of Atitya and of our research. Within this association, we have different activities. I would also like to specify that Atitya is not something which hasn't required many efforts. We have had to contribute, all of us, the community as a whole has contributed to Atitya. And as you can see here on these images I'm showing now, it has been a collective experience. It has been also a place for exchange, for thought, and for sharing experiences. And all the activities of Atitya have been organized collectively and with the ancestors and with our seniors. And what we wanted to do was to ask all these people to become involved in the project we had implemented. How could we bring all these seniors to this research center and have them participate? And we ask our scientific experts how we could do this. How can we bridge the gap between seniors, ancestors, and what we're doing in the field of research? How can we create something which we'll all share? Therefore, this was a real challenge. And the first meetings we've organized were fantastic. It was something extraordinary, something we had never could imagined before, something which was wonderful because we had the community of the seniors coming to speak to the scientists. This because the seniors, our ancestors, had a lot of things to share, and all the information they withholded is very important because it's something which has to do with the environment, but it's also knowledge which is very strongly correlated to different species, to the whole life of the island. There was a specific set of mind, a specific behavior, specific rules, oral rules and behaviors that we had been sharing for centuries. And this was the right moment to share this with our younger people. So we had the opportunity, and here you see Papa Mate, who's looking in the telescope, the Venus and other stars, and this is wonderful for exchanges and dialogue. So within this center, we have also created specific activities so as to sensitize young people, and for us, the native tongue is something that we all share and use. We have also implemented specific scientific activities with scientists, with research people, with students who were there at that time. And you see here these children who are now interested by biodiversity, by ecosystems. And of course, we have combined all this because, as you know, the traditional boats we have has a long history. It goes back through the past, and the vision of the sea and the land which come together, which meet, well, is something we also wanted to keep and to preserve. And Papa Mate told us, why do you speak of the earth without speaking of the sea? Because both things come together. Why do you have regulations for the earth and regulations for the sea, and you don't bring both together? That's something he told us, and that was something which really drew awareness. And therefore, this boat is very important. It's a very strong symbol for children, but also for other generations, because we could organize cultural activities, we could go on this boat and see how people used to live before and how they used to live on the sea and not only on earth and land. Now, two other comments were made by the seniors, and two projects were developed. It's called BioProde. BioCode is a project which was developed with more than 100 scientists coming from all the world, and also with the other scientific lab we have on our island. The BioCode project is an inventory of all the ecosystem and all the species we have on the island. The overall surface of the island, and all children were involved in these workshops, and they could discover one specific species. They could adopt a specimen or a species and try to find as much information they could concerning the biodiversity. And in this case, Papa Mate, who is identifying more than 600 species that we show to children. We have photographs of all these species, and we ask him what are the names of the different species. And after observing this, he says, you see this species here? This is the first phase of this fish. And here, this is another stage of development. And this is, they call it orare, but it's the same fish, in fact. And this one, you will find it over there, in that area. And this one, you'll find it here. He had a huge knowledge of all the species we have on the island, of the habitats and of the biodiversity we have in our seas. But what interested him more was this project that we have called EthnoCode. EthnoCode so has to motivate parents and children and have an inventory made of all the species, but also try to bring together all these specific cultural aspects. And this is what we have done all together with the whole population, the whole community. How can we bring everyone together and to work on the species and on the biodiversity? So EthnoCode has been a very interesting project because it brought together very many people. Another project I would like to tell you about is what we call IDEA, Island Digital Ecosystem Avatar. Now, this project for us just started, and the whole population is now very much interested by this project because it will be a digital model of the ecosystem that we have in our own area. And how will we be able to predict the future development of the island when confronted to climatic changes or climatic disruptions? How will we be able to predict what will happen in the future? And how can we imagine the scenarios which will take place? And this according to the decisions which will be taken by the community. So this is why connecting generations one with another means that our children and our younger people have another approach of what knowledge means for us. And also, this means that we give these children the opportunity of understanding what we have and how we can share the knowledge we have. That means that we can move on the same canoe, we can move forward on the same canoe. And we all know that challenges are there, and this is why we have to prepare these younger people, these children, for a future they will be able to confront, but also give them the opportunity of understanding what is going on throughout the world and finding solutions. This experience for us has been very rewarding, very fruitful, especially with respect to the energy that we have steered on this island. We have traditional knowledge which has not been revived, but we were able to revive the traditional knowledge thanks to the help and support of our scientists. But also, this enabled us to bridge generations and produce more knowledge that can be used by our younger generations, by children in the future, and enable them to feel at ease in a new society and also preserve the island and also face all the challenges they will be confronted to in the future. So I would like to say at this stage that today we are starting the exploration and this adventure. Altogether, we are embarked now on the same journey, on the same canoe, so as to make sure that we will move forward all together. But for that, we have to know where we want to head, where we want to move forward, what we want to do. That is to say, a sustainable planet. And if we don't take this decision, if we don't accept changing the way we behave, if we don't change what we are ourselves, well, then it will be a failure on this canoe. We'll be able to confront all the challenges, the climatic changes, and once we are on the sea, we won't be able to come back. So these islands, which today are at the mercy of the oceans. For instance, when you see this very small coral island in the middle of an ocean, and when you have a hurricane, then you have water up to your chest because the sea covers all the island, and during 24 hours, the water reaches your chin and covers your chest. This is what we call resilience, is to try to face this kind of threat and hazards when it takes place, because when the disaster occurs, we can't wait. We can't wait 10 years more. It's now that we have to act, and we can't wait tomorrow. This is what I wanted to tell you.